Hello, hello, hello. We are going to be looking at evaluating expressions, which is part 2 of order of operations. I'm just taking it one step further. So by the end of the video and time in class, you will be able to use order of operations to solve or evaluate expressions. So let's get started. The vocabulary that you need to know, there's only one for this video, which is the word evaluate. Obviously, if we're evaluating expressions, we have to know what the word evaluate means. What it is replacing each variable with a given number and then simplifying the expression using order of operations, which we all know as PEMDAS. Okay, so basically, when you get these problems, you will be given a number to put in for the variables, and then you just simplify it. So let's do some. Alright, how do you evaluate expressions? Well, I'm going to give you 2 examples to show you how this is done, and then you will get to do it by yourself. So the first example, in all of these examples, I'm going to use x equals 5 and y equals 2. So that's the given the given numbers for the variables. And my first problem, I'm going to do x squared plus x minus 12 divided by y squared. So there we go, there's my problem. So the very first thing I'm going to do is put in and drag and drop those numbers into where my variables are. So here's my variable x, and here's my variable y. So I'm going to put those in. So x is 5, so 5 squared plus 5 minus 12 divided by 2 squared. Now, I am rewriting them out, and I would suggest that you do that too. It's very easy to make mistakes when you don't rewrite. So you'll see me doing lots of rewriting, and I really strongly suggest that until you get really good and really comfortable with what you're doing, because that will help you eliminate mistakes. So here we go. I'm going to use order of operations now that I have put in PEMDAS. You're probably very familiar with. There's no parentheses, but there are exponents, so I'm going to do that first. So 5 squared is 25. Then I'm going to rewrite everything again. I suppose I should probably make that. Maybe not. And then 2 squared is 4. Okay, now I'm done with the e. Now I do multiplication and division at the same time, left to right. And there is division. There isn't multiplication, but there is division. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I still have 25 plus 5. Oops. Plus 5 minus 12. Oops. We're going to take that 12 and divide it by 4 to get our answer. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then I have 25 plus 5 minus 3. Now I can do adding and subtracting. And that's left to right. So I'm going to do 25 plus 5 first, which is 30. Then subtract 3, and you get an answer of 27. Now, you might be saying, well, Miss Ingrid, I need to add the opposite. Oops. If I can even, I'm making lots of mistakes. Okay, you might say, well, Miss Singer, aren't we supposed to add the opposite? Yeah, you can. You'll still get the same answer. So I get 30 plus -3, which is 27. It doesn't really matter. You probably didn't add the opposite there, but if you did, that's okay. It's all the same thing. It's just being able to go back and forth and see it both. Remember, I talked about this sign being a negative sign, a subtraction sign, and an opposite sign. So really, as long as you can see it those ways, you should be fine in whichever option you choose to do. Okay, let's make this smaller. Guess we're making the whole thing smaller, but that's okay. Alright, so again, I have x equals 5 and y equals 2. And my next equation is going to be xy squared. Now, when I have an x and a y smushed together, there's really an invisible multiplication sign there. So I'm just going to sneak that in there. Okay, that's one way to think about it. So here we go, drag and drop. So x is 5, and y is 2. So I'm dragging and dropping those numbers in there. That's it. So now I'm going to do PEMDAS and follow order of operations. Now there are parentheses, so I'm going to do that first, and 5 times 2 is 10. And then I just have 10 squared now. So exponents is next. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. And then I'm done. Alright, now it's your turn. I gave you A equals 3 and B equals 4. So you're going to solve these two problems here using those two values for A and B. And once you're done, pause the video. Make sure you're showing your work and showing everything. Please rewrite, at least for these two, because you're just learning this stuff. So it'll be a lot easier for you if you're writing everything out just like I was. So go ahead, pause the video, and then turn it back on when you're done. Okay, here are the answers. To the number 1, your answer was 3, and number 2, the answer was 11. So if you didn't get those answers, be sure to go back and check your work, see if you can figure out why, and then if you can't, make sure you're asking me in class, and I can walk you through how to get the answers you do. Okay, examples in the real world. You love asking me how math applies to life, and here's an example. So here we go. We have, please write an expression for spending money, for the spending money you have left after depositing 2/5 of your paycheck into your savings account. Evaluate the expression for paychecks of 40, 50, and 100. I'm going to walk through it a little bit with you. So when we're talking about word problems, we want to pick out important information. So here I have 2/5 of my paycheck, and that's left after depositing. Okay, so I want to know how much spending money. So spending money is going to equal or be whatever my wage was minus the 2/5 of my paycheck of my wages that I put into savings. So I'm going to subtract that after because I deposited it. So how am I going to write this? Well, my wage minus 2/5 of my wages. When I say 2/5 of, hopefully you're thinking of means multiplication. So I have my wages, which we're just going to say is W, minus 2/5 W. And again, remember when you have a number and a variable stuck together, there's multiplication there. And that will equal your spending money. But we're not going to worry about anything after the equal sign at this point. So I'm just going to erase that. Alright, so here we have W minus 2/5 W. And then it says, please evaluate for $40, $50, and $100. I'm going to do $40. So I'm going to drag and drop 40 into anywhere that I see a W. So it's going to be 40 minus 2/5 of 40. Okay, now we need to solve using PEMDAS, order of operations. Okay, parentheses. Well, I did put parentheses here, but there actually is there's nothing that you have to actually do in the parentheses. It's just a number. So we're going to move on from there. Exponents, there aren't any. Multiplication and division, there is, because we have 2/5 times 40. So 2/5 times 40 is 16. I'm just going to rewrite this. Okay, that's my multiplication and division. Now addition and subtraction. 40 minus 16 equals, I'm running out of space, but 24. So $24 is how much spending money there would be. Now, you're going to do the same process for $50 and $100. I'm going to have you do that on your own, and then bring in your answers for spending money for that $50 and $100, and we will check those answers in class. Please do not write that in your student questions, thoughts part. Keep this in your real world examples part of your Cornell notes. And then finally, tweet me your examples of real world evaluating types of problems at Younger Math. #evaluate. The first person to tweet me a real life example will get a Jolly Rancher in class. So get on that. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks for watching.